Hi guys, welcome back to Living the Gandy Life. If this is your first time joining me, welcome. I'm so glad that you found me. My name is Faith, and today I'm just going to be sharing with you our honest review of something that I said I would do at the beginning of the year because this is our first time using it, and I'm just a little bit behind. So I wanted to go ahead and share with you our review, our personal review of the Spelling UC spelling curriculum. So I think in that video I mentioned that my third grader was just having a little bit of trouble, was struggling with spelling, with writing, made very common mistakes. And so in our homeschool assessment at the end of the last year, she suggested that we actually give Spelling UC a try. It's a little bit different philosophy. It's not the list of words, practice these words over and over, write them, and then have a spelling test. Instead, it just takes very common words and a lot of common spelling, chunks, like whether it's vowel chunks that are common together, or consonant chunks together, or silent letters, really focusing on those in a passage and then writing them in context. And the studies behind them show that when you write things in context, it helps keep them in your memory better than just memorizing a random list of words that maybe have no connection between them, or are just random rules here and there. It's just a list of words. So we thought we would give this a try because I did have a struggling speller. Now, I did not try this for all of my levels because I do have some kids that the list works with, and I thought, if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of thing. But I was going to go ahead and give this a try. So you can see on our tab, it actually does come with 2 books. So we are almost finished, literally almost halfway through, where we're getting ready to move into our second workbook. So we haven't touched this one yet, but as you can see in part 2, the writing, I'll show you in a second. You can see that we're focusing on a few more things. The passages get a little bit longer as you go, maybe a little bit more complex, but you do focus on more different spelling rules, I guess, or the things that they highlight, where you're focusing on vowel chunks, consonant chunks, bossy R chunks like the AR, ER, IR, OR, UR, different endings, as well as tricky Y guy is what she calls them in there, where you're using a Y in the word, different silent letters as well. And so I'll show you what it looks like, why they're in different colors in a moment, in the work that we've already accomplished. But they just kind of go through their Wild Tales is level C. When we did the placement test, this is kind of where he fell, and I think it's been pretty appropriate. He did have a basic and phonics understanding from his previous curriculum, so we didn't need to start at level A. But Wild Tales is where that every week we have a different story that pertains to some wild animal, and we just write a few sentences about that animal, incorporating a lot of these spelling vowel chunks. I'm having a trouble of even how I would word it, like rules, like I guess vowel chunks or consonant chunks of what she's having us focus on. So let me take you to one of the ones we most recently had done. Let's see. So here is one, and it was about camels. And so one of the very first things that we do when we start, they're labeled in number. So this would have been week 13, and then it's labeled A, B, C, D, E. So if you were doing a 5-day at-home school curriculum, you would be able to cover A on Monday, B, C, D, E. We do 4 days normally because we do still get together with a version of our co-op. Everything's crazy right now, but we still are getting together with some friends to do some activities for that would have been our co-op. So we have condensed it to a 4-day spelling curriculum. We eliminate, I can show you which one we eliminate normally. On the weeks that we don't meet with our co-op friends, we go ahead and do all 5 days. It doesn't hurt, right? So we just go ahead and kind of, normally we'll just do 4, and occasionally we'll throw in the 5th day. But when we start the lesson, you read the story to your kid. So this one was about camels. It's literally like 4 or 5 sentences. I read it, and then I have him read it back to me. And as I'm going, I'm pointing out to all of the words. Then after I've read it and he has read it, then together we find all the consonant chunks, and then we're going to color them blue. So you can see where we took the blue and we've colored in all of the consonant chunks in that passage. So there we're talking like double L's, SH, TH, that's actually all the ones that were in this passage, but there's a whole list, and it even has them down here at the bottom if you need to look things up. As he continues to go, he knows a lot of them and can easily recognize them. So we looked at the consonant chunks, then we looked at the bossy R chunks. So in this passage, we were looking for IR, AR, ER, IR, OR. Did I say all of them? I might have missed one, but you get the point. And we color them purple. So we're looking for all of those. And, normally those would be very tricky because a lot of them make the same sound when you say and you're like, okay, well, which is it? As adults, right, we instinctively know because we practice those words over and over. But as a new speller and learning to do those, a lot of times it's really confusing. It's like, take a guess because it could be any one of them. So this is just helping him practice which one it is in each of these words. And then in this one, we also looked for silent letters. In this one, we had the silent E's and a silent L in walk. So those were the ones we're highlighting. And that was on day 1. Those are the letters. So after we read the little passage, and we highlighted those, then on the next page, he is copying the passage or a portion of the passage on day 1. And so then I would double check, make sure that he has done all of his spelling correctly. And then a lot of times, actually, as I'm noticing here, what's a great one to show off, right? I normally have him look for the letters to color over here, and he would normally color in the consonant chunks, the vowel chunks, and the bossy R chunks or silent letters on this page too. And apparently it forgot, and it slipped through the cracks, and I didn't even notice it until now. So that was day 1. Then day 2, it's the exact same thing. I read it, he reads it, we color in the consonant chunks, the bossy R chunks, the silent chunks. Each week it might change. It might, instead of consonant chunks, it might be vowel chunks. Each week it might be different. And actually a lot of them, sometimes they even change. I don't think it changed this week, but sometimes for half the week you might focus on consonant chunks and bossy R chunks. And then the second half of the week you might focus on silent letters and vowel chunks. It might just change halfway through. But this is the same thing. We highlighted all of the special sounds, and then he came over and finished copying the next portion of the passage. So day 3 was the exact same thing. We're just doing a lot of repetition over here, but we're only focusing on this one passage this week. So we read it again, highlighted our special sounds, come over here and copy it again. Now here obviously was a week where we did not have co-op. It was coming up on the holidays, and so we did not have it. And so this one was where we read the story, we highlighted the special sounds, but then I just let him, it's over here, it even says it's a no rule day where you can draw a picture of the story or write your own story. It's an opportunity to be creative and fun. So he drew some camels and a guy walking with them. So that was what he chose to do with his creative day. But again, this is the day that I normally skip if we're only working with a 4-day at-home week. Now, then the last day, which was day E, we're doing the same setup where we're going to read the story. He's going to read it. I'm going to read it. Then we're going to work together, making sure that we focus on those special sounds. A lot of times, I'm reminding him some difficult words like desert only has one S as opposed to dessert, which you want more of. So it's going to have 2 S's. Just kind of looking at any difficult words that I might want him to focus on. But then that leads us to the last day. Once we've done that, we flip over, and this is where he's going to write the story from dictation. So he has the opportunity, let me pull back here, he can actually use both pages if necessary, but I pull out my my little guide here, the teacher's handbook, and I can go to right here. We have just a list of every week of what the reading is. And so I'm just going to sit there and I'm going to read it to him, and he is going to dictate down in his notebook what I'm reading. Having already practiced it for the entire week, now it's kind of like, let's see what we learned and what we got out of this. So I just read him a sentence at a time, and I repeat it a couple of times, and then he writes it. And so we go through the entire passage. Again, he's not looking at it. He's just writing it from memory from all the practice. And then I go through and I check every word that he has. And you can see that I have check marked each of the words that he has done. We had one spelling error here, which is funny because he misspelled it here, but then where else is it? Oh, spelled it correctly down here. You know, what are you going to do with kids? Sometimes they just make silly mistakes, which is totally okay. So once we are done with that, I go through and I check all of them. I circle any of the ones that he did misspell, and then I have him correct them and write the correct spelling. But the thing that I will say is one of the biggest changes in how we were doing spelling before and how we do spelling now is that down here it says I spelled blank words correctly. And so I added in there that he got 43 words that he spelled correctly. And so I guess with my review, what I want to say is, has this made my son this perfect speller where he makes no mistakes and he can all of a sudden spell these horrendous words that are super long and super hard and has turned him into a phenomenal speller? No. It really hasn't. Has he gotten better? Yes. But I will say that the biggest change that I have seen with my son in spelling is that he does not leave spelling feeling defeated. He leaves spelling feeling accomplished and proud of himself because we are focusing on the words that he spelled correctly instead of the words that he spelled incorrectly. And that pays for it enough for me. He may not be perfect. I can show you plenty of times where we've made plenty of mistakes, and I'm trying to remind my son that a lot of times we learn best from our mistakes, right? Because those stick out to us and we don't want to make those mistakes again. He's kind of hard on himself. So this has been a godsend because he is hard on himself, and I will continue to buy this curriculum as long as we feel like it is still working and it is still leaving him in an uplifted attitude and confident in himself instead of feeling defeated and down on himself, because instead we're high-fiving at the end of each spelling test because of how many words he got correct, because the focus is different. We're not looking at our failures, we're looking at our successes. And I will say that has done wonders for his confidence in spelling, and he does not dread or, fight me on spelling every time. I can actually, once we've gone through and we've read, I can turn it over to him and he's good to go. He can accomplish his spelling on his own and he's confident in it. And I love what it has done to his confidence by just merely looking at what he's done right instead of what he's done wrong. So that's my honest review. I can't say that, it's made him this amazing speller, although he is getting better and he is succeeding in his spelling lessons, but his attitude has changed. And to me, attitude, character, things like that far outweigh what we're learning on the side, because I want a kid who's confident and who has good character over all of these little things that they might know. So you can take that with a grain of salt or however you want to, but I would recommend this, especially if you have a struggling speller who might be down on themselves, who does not think that they're good at it and just beats themselves down. I would highly recommend it. So if you guys have any other questions about the spelling you see, again, I can only tell you about maybe level C. I'm assuming that when I looked at the other levels, they all look very similar to this, but this is our first year using it, so I can't tell you a lot about the other levels, but I probably can in the future. But If you have any questions about it, I would love to answer them. If you have any recommendations or anything for anyone else that might be helpful with spelling UC, go ahead and drop them in the comments below. But if you have any other questions, let me know, guys. And until next time, have a blessed